Hey there, this is Perch. So, looking at Movie Men, this is a independent comic that's being funded through Indiegogo. I'm doing this review. I'm looking at a preview version of the comic, and so you'll see a couple screens on there. And I would redirect you to the Indiegogo site if you're interested in backing this. It doesn't have much time left. It's at the time of this review dropping. We've got about 36 hours left, but the important thing is also you can reach out and connect to Jeremy Lott or Doug Curtis. They're on Twitter, quite visible, quite active. So I think you can reach out to them, find out how you could get involved or get in this book. I'm sure after this Indiegogo has passed. But let's go into kind of review the book and like a lot of the reviews, kind of talking about, is this comic for you? What can you get out of it? Where can it go from here? And looking at that. So, first off, it's not a complete one and done story. There's a bit of a world being set up here, and like I said, it's an independent comic. It's being done directly from these two, from Jeremy and Doug, and it's got a bunch of different options if you're going to crowdfund it or if you want to support it, I should say. So go and give it a look, and you can kind of see kind of what tiers and other things you can do. There's pinups and T-shirts and sketches, and get yourself drawn into the story, that kind of stuff. So at a high level, one thing, they're not marketing the title this way. But one of the things I like to say up front is you could give this to all audiences. I went through this with my 8-year-old daughter, and she had a good time with it, thought it was fun. This isn't a book written for kids. I wouldn't ever call it's not a kid's book, but it is a book that you could show to kids, and it's going to be fine. There's nothing in here that is going to prevent any age from really looking at it and enjoying it. But it's aimed at it's a slightly higher audience. There's a definite Clerks feel to this title, where you've got some people in a pretty mundane job. They're just doing their thing. You have four kind of theater workers, and they are just having an average normal day with an overbearing boss. And suddenly they stumble upon a bomb. So the cool part about this book, again, because it is kind of set up to be a adventure type story, that you get a complete story. There's definitely, I mean, it ends with the obvious, these characters in this universe can go further, but it is a complete story. You are getting a comic that's full and unto itself in the book. And they don't waste time getting to the kind of crux of the action. By page two, into page two, you've got to the plot. And there's a couple kind of unique aspects to this. Art is fun. You got a lot of different. What's cool is there's a lot of expressions going on with the character. One of the things I've noticed with a lot of the independent comics is that you get 100 people with the same face, and here we've got very distinct characters, and we've got expressions and movement and dress and mannerisms and all the rest. The guy who did the art, who's Doug Curtis. One thing that's nice about this is I have no idea if he did it or not, but it has the feel like there was character guides that were actually being used and employed here, because when the characters show up in panel to page in different interactions and things going on, they still look the same. That sounds like such a lightweight compliment, like the lowest possible bar. But you compare it against even things the big two publishers are doing, and the characters wildly vary in shape and size and expression and everything else, and it's just a matter of what model was being traced here to get this to happen. But you've got here, you've got distinctive facial features that correspond from page to page. Who knew? Just an interesting little adventure. Basically, the plot of the movie, plot of the comic is simply you have these people working. A bomb goes off. It does not explode things in rubble, but rather it seems to interact with the films that are being made, and you've got a couple different, as people are running from the theater, you got a couple different movies that are on display there, and in each one of these movies, the villain or some antagonist has escaped off into the real life world and is kind of wrecking havoc, and it's up to these theater employees to kind of save the day with weapons and and also gear that are pulled out of these movies as well. So it's an infusion of fantasy movie life into real life, which makes it. I mean, Movie Men is the title. Again, fun story, some nice stuff going on, good use of color. It's a very vibrant book. I'm looking at it digitally. I'd really be curious how this prints off. Digitally, it's very, very vibrant. Printed version, I imagine, would be pretty cool to kind of see how that also plays out. But but anyway, the comic ends. You're saying movie. Comic ends with at least some initial resolution to the immediate plot. I'm not. Then again, I don't want to spoil it. You should check it out for yourself. But there is a definite hook to do more and kind of expand out this universe. And these characters they're just getting started. I mean, ultimately, 21 pages. It's a quick comic, but you've got some different personalities coming on with these characters. You've got some different kind of themes that are coming out. And so you can see these characters kind of going in a couple different directions. And I don't know if there's plans to do more. That probably has been mentioned on Twitter, but I hope so. I think this is a good universe that is going on. Um, One thing that is pretty cool, I think, is that unlike a lot of the, obviously I'm looking at the comic, but one cool thing is before they launched the Indiegogo, they finished the book. So it's not, it's not a case of you're funding something that is on the promise that it's going to be delivered. That's not a shot at anybody who does it that way. It's a compliment to these two for finishing a comic, basically putting the proof on page before starting with the fundraising. And I think that's pretty cool. They mentioned they can do some tweaks and other things, and there's some stretch goals and so on. So I know I think it's cool. This reads like a comic by people who like comics. It reads like a, a a project from people who actually enjoy what they're doing, and you see some of that happiness, that joy come off the page. All in all, really, quite a nice world. One I hope they can continue to expand upon. Like I said, I think there's a lot of direction it can go. The environment and setup is unique. It's a fantasy world plus real world coming together under the context of the movie. And no, it's just a nice little project. So, like I said, the cool part about it is, as I'm doing this review, it has been fully funded, so it's surpassed its goal, which is awesome. So now it's really, there's a no no risk. You can jump in this thing, you can fund it, you're getting a comic, and there's some nice free perks that are in here, and some other stuff you can buy into, which is pretty cool. So anyway, get it out, check it out. Pretty nice. Again, nice, cheap buy-in. $5 to get a physical version. That's not bad at all for an indie comic coming out. So, way to go, guys! I've got to thank these guys for sending me this comp to review. Like I said, it's a fun story. I like the expressions. I like the characters. I like how there's some new things going on. That's very, very cool, and it's a nice new hook. And characters look unique. You can see where they can really run with this project and do some other things. And it's set in Bellingham, I guess. Bellingham. I'm curious. Bellingham, Washington. Is that where this is set from? So old stomping grounds of Eric Larson, if so. But well done. Really highly recommend. Like this stuff. Again, as I mentioned, this is a comic you could show to kids, and that is pretty cool. I think that's great. Um, I think that again, it's not a made for kids comic. It's made for any kind of comic audience, but yeah, it's good. It's good. I just very solid issue. Highly recommend it. Pick it up, and let me know what you think. Add some comments in the comments. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification. Follow me on Comic Perch on Twitter, And I'm going to put up, you'll see up on the screen there the Twitter accounts for the two creators and how to get in touch with them, and also where to go for the Indiegogo. Thanks for listening.